Y'all are ready to go ahead and start. Here's get through this today. Thanks everybody for being here. My name is Andrew Babb. I'm the planner with Conner Company, helping the county out with this comprehensive plan. You've been seeing online for the last advisory meeting as well. I also have Rebecca Hester with me here from Holland, and y'all know Chris, who's kind of our main point of contact on the county side as well. So again, thank you all for coming to this third advisory committee meeting. We're getting close to the end of this thing finally. We have some exciting things to show you all. So I just want to explain what we want to do today. I want to welcome everybody, run through some of that same introductory material we've done before so that everyone's working from the same, understanding what we're doing here today, recap the planning process that we've gone through so far. And we have two big things in the comprehensive plan that I want to ask you all about today. One of those has to do with the economic development element. There were some pieces of that in the last plan that need to be updated or kind of created from scratch this time, so we want to run those ideas by this group today. And the other is some little changes, some tweaks to the character area map that we worked with staff to identify, to implement. We want to make sure those all make sense. See if anyone has any thoughts or comments on those as well. And then we'll talk about next steps going into the future. We have some public comment coming up, and y'all are going to get the actual plan to look at here soon. We've got a small group. If you don't mind, we can go around the room and just do introductions, just kind of who you are and who you represent here, if you don't mind, so we all know who we are. If you don't mind starting us off.
I'm Phil Smith. I'm on the planning commission.
Awesome.
I'm going to Jess.
All right, awesome.
Gail, president of
Thank you so much.
Sue Williams, I represent Advocates for Quality Development.
Okay.
Keith Rockington, Transportation Planning Manager for Workpkace, for the Pickens Area Transportation Center.
Awesome. Got you.
Jessica Bryson, School District of Pickens County.
David Cox, Planning Commission.
Allison Ballard, Pickens County Parks Recreation.
Lisa Turner, Greater Pickens Chamber of Commerce.
Wayne Kelly, Pickens County Historical Society.
Roy Steiner, the old mayor, 6 months.
I'm a Valentine Planning Commission.
And I'm Chris Brady, County Planning Director.
I'm Joel Ledbetter, General Manager, Eastland Combined Utilities.
John Humphrey with the Planning Commission.
Michael Watson with the Planning Commission.
Janelle Raines, Conservatives of the Upstate.
Okay. Well, again, thank y'all for all being here. Just want to run through a couple things. You've seen this before, if you've been through the meetings. Just some rules here. We ask that y'all be respectful of everyone's viewpoints here. We're really trying to hear from the whole community. We want to know what everyone has to say. We want to give everyone a chance to give feedback. We have a couple of ways to do that today that we'll get through. We do have, I don't think we're going to run out of time for discussion today, but if we are, please let other people speak for a first time before you speak for a second or third time. And if you don't, if you have something you want to say that we don't get through to today, please find myself, Chris, or Rebecca after the meeting and talk to us and let us know. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page about why we're doing a comprehensive plan. Our comprehensive plan is a good opportunity to understand where the county is today. So we're updating the 2014 plan for with the current, with new data, new understanding where the county stands. We're trying to take a moment to understand what residents, businesses, and other leaders in the county want to see for the future. We're really trying to create a plan that is a tool that decision makers can use in the future to make sure that those decisions are guided by what the community wants to see. This is also a great opportunity to coordinate with your neighbors and with the other communities within Pickens County. We ask that this group's advisory committee really be advocates for this process, bring your perspectives into the conversation. And one thing I'm going to ask today is to raise awareness for the plan. We have some public engagement coming up, so please share that with your constituents, your friends, your neighbors. But the thing we're asking you to do very specifically today is to vet the ideas and recommendations that we've come up with to make sure they fit in. And we want y'all to ask and answer tough questions, so please don't hold back as we go through this. Just want to recap the planning process and how we get to where we are today. So we've broken up this planning process into 5 main phases. We have a research phase, a vision phase, we have developing and documenting, which is where we are right now as we're putting the plan together, and then we'll hopefully move soon into adoption. I'm just going to go through each of those kind of at a high level. So if you remember the first advisory committee meeting, for those of you who attended that, we pulled a lot of data about where people live, incomes, where people work, where people commute, population history, all kinds of things. So all that information really forms the foundation of our planning process. These pieces are now incorporated into the document as well. Each element has an existing conditions section that show pieces, all of these things. In our vision phase, we were really listening to the community and listening to this group, and really the first advisory committee meeting again, do that SWOT activity. So that information was really useful. We went to the public as well. We did map activities where we asked people what areas they wanted to see preserved into the future, what areas they wanted to see changed. And we took those SWOT ideas from this group and we asked people if they agreed with them to kind of, again, further understand and refine the community's vision. Now we're really in the development document phase. So we've actually created a draft document that this group will get to see in the near future. That includes, documentation of the process we've used to get here, updated character area map, some new policy implementations. Every element has a series of policies with specific implementation plans. We've updated those things. Other updated information. I just want to talk for a minute or two about the document itself before you get your hands on it. The document has 2 introduction chapters. The introduction chapter 1 really is almost an executive summary that explains kind of at a high level what the plan is and what it says. Chapter 2, the planning process, explains the process, right? The public engagement, meeting with this group, the other steps we took to get to our final conclusion. And then there are 9 plan elements. These 9 elements are required by South Carolina law to touch on all of these different topics. Each element really has a big section up front that documents existing conditions related to that topic. Some related information like other plans that other jurisdictions have or previous plans that Pickens County has. And then there's a goals and objectives section. And that includes a goal, so there's a population goal, a housing goal, a land use goal, and the goal is broken into a number of objectives, so maybe 1 or 2 or 3 objectives, just kind of more specific, concrete things the county is looking to achieve to reach towards that goal. And then to break down even further, there are a number of what are called policies, which are very specific action items. They have specific groups associated with them and implementation timeframes. Those are kind of the specific steps the county intends to take to move towards those bigger goals. Are there any questions about the document before we get into the next step?
Yes, Phil Smith, I'm on the planning commission. When you say policy, that suggests that the government of the county is going to establish those policies. From the planning perspective, these are all recommendations.
Yeah, so I would say that policy is the standard term that we use. I don't know that it's the best word that they could come up with for these. They're more like specific action items. So things like it may be a little vague. They may be like continue to coordinate with Alliance Pickens on economic development opportunities, or they may be develop a plan for this center area for this specific region. But they're usually a little bit more action oriented than what you would think policy typically is being. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
And are these also conducive to being incorporated into the UDSO?
A lot of them are. Yeah, not all of them are of that topic, but there are a number that probably are. Yeah, absolutely. When you get the document, you can see, and we can talk more specifically as well. Anything else? All right, so with that, with the understanding of the pieces that we have here today, I want to talk about 2 things. Most of what's in here, we work with staff and we think is pretty straightforward, but there are 2 kind of significant changes or updates or new pieces that we want to talk with this group about. One of those is goals and objectives for the economic development element, and the other is a couple of changes to the character area map that we are working with. And so for the economic development section, in the previous plan and the current plan, really, the economic development element did not include the goals and objectives, just for the 1 element. The other 8 were all there, but for this one we had to start from scratch. So we looked at the SWOT activities, we worked with staff, and we developed some draft ideas. So what we want to do is we want to work with this group to look at the ideas we've developed and maybe refine them. We've got a relatively small group. I think we might try to just do this live the traditional way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a goal. I'm just going to ask people why don't we, if you don't mind, if you got a phone or something on you, you've got a website here, we have a virtual live call that'll let us kind of aggregate these results more quickly. So you can get your phone out or anything like that and go to pigeonhole.at right there, and there'll be a box that allows you to enter a code, and the code is 1 Pickens. for that. I'll give everyone a minute or two to jump in on that. It's pigeonhole.ac. It's not about commenting, and the code is one thing. Those instructions will be on this next slide as well, for anybody who's still working on that down here. So we've drafted a potential goal for the economic development section. We just kind of want to talk about it and see those types of things. So the goal we've written says, Pickens County will leverage the county's education system, infrastructure, and strategic location to create and attract a variety of economic opportunities to improve quality of life through increased opportunities for employment and for local goods and services. And if you're in the pigeonhole poll, their first question is, do you support this goal statement? And we have three options. The first is yes, just as it's written, the goal is perfect. That's how we should put in the plan. We have yes with some changes, and we'll talk about those changes here in a second. Or we have no, entirely the goal statement is needed. And as you respond to that, they should pop up on the screen. Awesome. So far, I'm feeling pretty good about my ability to write economic development goals. I appreciate that. Some changes.
Pickens County will be counties.
It's just a whole diverse of counties, so there's word missing on this slide. The previous slide, the word's there. Sorry about that. Good catch. Good catch. Yeah, that should be Pickens County will leverage the county's active education system, infrastructure, so on and so forth. Notes and notes. So we do have a question here where you can submit specific changes. But for those of you who said yes with some changes, why don't we just talk about it? You know, what kind of changes were you thinking about? What do you think needs to be tweaked? Does anybody want to volunteer?
Mine was simply to correct that typo.
Fair enough. Easy to do. I can do that. Does anybody else have another change they wanted to see in that goal statement? All right, going once, going twice. So as I said, each of these not only has a goal statement, but usually has a couple of objective statements. And these kind of break down and focus, the decision making. So this is the first. We developed two objectives. This is the first one. So this isn't all-encompassing. This is the first one. So this is leverage access to Greenville, proximity to I-85, and the presence of great educational resources to attract potential employers to Pickens County. We have the same question. Do you support that? Yes, just as it's written. Yes, with some changes, or no, something completely different is needed. This should not be included. Everyone seems to agree.
Andrew, can we do this later? Because I'm using my phone to video, so can I do this later when I get home?
You can.
Okay.
It will close tomorrow at midnight.
Okay.
So as long as you get it in before then.
Okay.
Now, do you agree with what the group is saying, or do you have some changes you'd like to suggest?
I'll hold it
Okay.
till.
Okay, I think that's, we've got one. So, anyone said, with some changes, we talk about those might be.
The question has to do with Greenville in specific.
Okay.
I had been in several meetings where we had thought there was too much emphasis on going to Greenville. We wanted Greenville to come this way.
Okay.
So, what was the purpose for leveraging access to Greenville?
So really the motivation here was, how do we attract potential employers to Pickens County? And the thought was